Here you have the three critical moments from this game that we're going to review from beginning to end. But guys, positions like these three are the ones that are going to keep us from converting our game. So I hope that you spend some time working on them. Pause the video for as long as you need. And now we're going to go over the entire game. So of course, two very strong grandmasters. We have d4, knight f6, and this gets quickly into the Nimzo Indian defense. Those of you who have no idea about this opening, basically black pieces are fighting for that e4 square. I neutralize the knight, and eventually I want to place my own knight on e4. Typically, you see ideas like b6, bishop b7, also controlling e4, and then even the pawn goes to f5 to support the same square. After bishop b4, we got queen c2. This, I know it as the Capablanca variation, where they simply don't want any problems with your pawn structure. So queen c2 is making sure that when they take, I don't have to double up my pawns. Instead, the queen takes care of it. So castle, a3, and after bishop c3, queen c3, my pawn structure is healthy. So guys, from very early in the game, you see how they are being careful with their pawn structure. So pawn to d6, then bishop g5, h6. I'm going to preserve the pair of bishops. And after knight b to d7, we got pawn to e3. Now at this point, notice how the black pieces still need to develop this bishop. For the white pieces, they need to develop these two and castle. So of course, next move for black is b6. Remember that we mentioned this bishop b7 to get on this diagonal, and that's why the white pieces continued with bishop d3, bishop b7, and then pawn to f3. So if I could do something to make this bishop less effective, I'm going to do it, of course. And then the knight goes to e2, we castle, simple chess, right? So pawn to c5, striking the center, knight e2, c takes d4, we keep both pawns in the center. And after rook c8, the white pieces start to realize that tactics are going to be in the air. Guys, rook on the same file as my queen, not a good idea. However, they decided to just play b4. Of course, d5 is always in the air, so we gotta prepare for it, even b5. But in this case, with b4 and d4, that's only going to help us get ourselves a passed pawn. For example, if this happened, I can see c5, and we get powerful pawns. This is a protected passed pawn. And even though the black pieces have one as well, it looks like the white pawns are a little bit more dangerous. So anyways, here after the move before, we have pawn to e5, finding a different way to strike the center. They have to, and now the white pieces simply castled their king. So that's it. Development complete. We can say the opening is over. We connected the rooks. Now we play chess. We pay attention to the side where we have more space, and we start activating our pieces. So next move for black, b5, of course, acting on this pin. And now the white pieces played c5. Guys, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this part, but this is another critical moment in the game. c5 is automatically a pawn sacrifice to take the initiative. We had a very powerful lesson on it. If you really want to improve your middle game and chess in general, you need to go over that lesson. Many of us, we struggle to give up material, and I've been there myself, but the more we learn about it, the more we try it, the better we get at it. So again, I'm not going to spend time here because the other three positions I showed you at the beginnings are what we need to focus on at this point in the course. So after c5, e takes d4. Of course, everything is calculated. So knight takes, pawn takes, and now we got the move knight to f5. Again, what we're looking for is active pieces. We know our rooks are going to have these files. We got the knight already in their territory, bishop and queen attacking, and even this bishop is putting pressure, right? So after knight f5, we got pawn to c4, bishop c2, and again, this is, and I remember I showed you another game with the Grunfeld defense where I told you that sometimes we let them get a protected passed pawn, but we count on our initiative, and that's our compensation. So bishop c2, bishop d5, rook comes over to the central file with a tempo, bishop e6, and guys, this is the first position that you had to work on. Here, what you're expected to do is find a move that adds more pressure. When I was working on it, I came up with my move and I did not get it. Actually, I didn't get any of the three critical possessions, and I'll show you what my logic, right? So here, the move that I thought of was rook d4. I understood I needed to get ready to double up my rooks. It was nice to put it on a dark square because my opponent doesn't have the dark square bishop, but I also wanted to leave this possibility of transferring over to the king side through the fourth rank. Well, if you thought of the move rook d6, then you got it correct. Rook d6, that's a weak square. We've had powerful lessons on this topic, and now the same thing. They're ready to double up, and no one is going to bother the rook on d6. Another thing that prevented me from this move is that I thought, oh, I like that square for the knight, but the truth is that this knight is already on a very powerful square, so no need to go to d6 or anything like that. So after rook d6, we got rook e8, and now, of course, we double up our rooks. Now, guys, we cannot deny that the white pieces are just very, very active, and tactics are going to start happening. There's too much pressure, and typically, our opponents it's hard to find the right defensive resources. Now, at the sake of getting you a little bit confused, if you look at it from black's perspective, it just looks very annoying. It looks overwhelming. So at this point, we got rook c7. You see defensive moves. This is just not nice. I've been there. I know the feeling. So rook c7. And for this one, I'm going to tell you, this critical moment, I'm going to tell you what the move was. Try to think of the why. What was the idea behind this move? The move that they played was pawn to f4. Now, of course, I was trying to find the move. I did not think of f4, but the idea is very interesting. Now that they have so much activity, they're ready to create complications. And the move that they're preparing is knight takes pawn followed by f5. Now, if you ask the engine is saying, well, you could have taken right away followed by f4. Now, of course, this is a different story, but at the very least, we should be able to understand why f4 is so powerful, preparing knight g7, and then f5. And guys, yes, we don't get a lot of material, but we are exposing that king. And with these bishops, the queen, the rooks, king exposed is just a big deal. f4 was played, bishop had to take the knight, bishop takes back, and now we got three pieces putting pressure on that knight. Now, I'm not going to make you do this, but when I'm doing these exercises with my students, I have them many times try to find not only the best move for the side that is doing better, but also for the side that is doing worse. Because, again, many times we are the ones on the receiving end. So if I'm black, I'm in this uncomfortable position, what should I do? Well, if you want, pause the video. The black pieces actually played a very interesting move, queen b8. Queen b8 is so important because if they have played, for example, queen a8, then we have this interesting line. We have bishop takes, knight e4, bishop takes, knight takes queen, rook d8, rook c8, and now we have this move, right? And this is, I think, this is completely winning for the white pieces. Now, with the move that they played, queen b8, if we run the same line, knight e4, bishop e8, take, rook c8, now you don't have this discovery hitting the queen. So see how good you have to be on the offensive, but also when you are defending. So let me go back to this queen b8, and don't forget, bishop just took on f5, queen b8, and now bishop d7 anyways. Rook takes, knight takes, and rook takes d7. Now, we got an extra bishop, but the black pieces have 2 pawns for that bishop, and they got these protected pass pawns. You and I know that it's very easy to blow this. So we have to play better than ever before, right? Now, if you recognize it, this is the final critical position that I showed you at the beginning. Here, you're supposed to find a move that simply makes it very easy for white to convert, right? Just get rid of any counterplay for black and convert this very, very easily. Now, most of my students tell me rook d8, and it makes sense, but the actual move here the powerful move is queen f3. And there's a very interesting logic here that even if you traded rooks, this queen is a little bit more problematic than the black rook. But also look at the pieces. I always tell you, when you simplify pieces, it's not about what you capture, but about what you are left with. Here you're left with two pieces that they don't really work well together because they both work through diagonals, right? So that's why you hear, oh, queen and knight is a way better combination. Bishop and rook are a better combination because they don't use the same routes, right? So that's another reason why the white pieces wanted to get rid of the queens. And the move was queen f3. Now, I did consider this when I first looked at this game, but I got a little bit concerned about these ideas, right? But if you have been following the lessons we've had on visualization, on calculation, it should be easy to calculate that after queen e1, we have queen f1, blocking, hitting f7 anyways, and if queen e3, we get bishop f2. Now, try to do it in your head. Queen e1, queen f1, queen e3, bishop f2. If they take the pawn, there's a very powerful move that made the black pieces resign. If you cannot do it in your head, here are the moves. Check, check. And now the move is, again, if you want to find it on your own, pause the video. If not, appreciate this powerful move, bishop d4. Again, trying to hit f7. If rook f8, well, bishop c5. And if they played f6, you should be more than familiar with this tactical pattern. We take, and then check, followed by checkmate. So there you have it, guys. Let me know in the comments if you found any of the right moves in the critical positions. If not, why do you think you couldn't find it? What do you need to continue to improve on? So with that said, I will see you in our next lesson.